Alpinia zerumbet variegata is a member of the plant family Zingiberaceae that we know as the gingers, and this plant is commonly known as the variegated shell ginger. It is a tropical plant from Southeast Asia, and it's commonly planted in parks and gardens due to its showy evergreen foliage. In temperate countries, we can grow it indoors as a houseplant, and its high level of variegation makes it an attractive subject. The plant grows from an underground rhizome which produces many lead growths so that the plants form a clump. The upright stems have alternating leaves which are lance-shaped and quite leathery. The leaves are dark green and are heavily brushed with cream to yellow. Under ideal conditions, in tropical settings, these plants can reach a whopping 2 to 3 meters, but in most gardens a more modest 1 to 2 meters is normal. Potted plants grown as houseplants reach a much more modest 50 to 80 centimeters, with plenty of bushy growth. These plants do flower, and it is the shell-like appearance of the flowers that give this plant its shell ginger common name. As a houseplant, this plant is very unlikely to grow large enough to flower, but in a conservatory or large greenhouse you might get flowers. The flowers are large and showy and are produced in loose clusters at the ends of the stems. Watering should be regular, and weekly waterings will be needed in the summer months, possibly more in hot periods. In winter, watering once every 3 weeks should be sufficient. Tap water can be used. Leaf curl may occur on plants experiencing drought. If you see curled leaves, then give the plant a good soaking. Increase humidity with regular misting. Place the plant on a moist gravel tray or place in a humid environment such as a bathroom from time to time. Shared humidity also helps, so place the plant in close proximity to other plants as a group if humidity is low. When growing indoors, give medium to bright light, and even direct sun is not a problem. Fertiliser should be given 1 to 2 times per month, and a general purpose liquid fertiliser will be sufficient. If you want a bigger plant, then increase the rate of feeding, and if you want a smaller plant, then ease back on the fertiliser frequency or dosage. Slow release fertilisers added to the compost can also be used. Growth will slow down and may stop altogether in the colder winter months, but will resume again in the spring and summer as temperatures rise. If freezing temperatures or temperatures close to freezing are experienced, the leaves and most top growth will be damaged and may die off completely. But the rhizome may sprout again if the temperature drop was not severe or for a long period of time. So if your plant is severely damaged by cold, don't give up on it too soon, as it may re-sprout. Propagation is by division. Stem cuttings cannot be taken. Division is best carried out in late spring or early summer, just as the growth is becoming active. New growths will spread outwards from the rhizome on all sides, so place the plant in the middle of the pot when potting and use a free-draining, moisture-retentive potting mix. A moss peat or peat-free compost with added perlite, grit or river sand will give good drainage. Add extra organic material such as coconut chunks or well-rotted garden compost to improve the moisture retention. The mix being used here is coco peat with extra coconut chunks, perlite and some slow-release fertilizer. Propagation is by division, so we should get this plant out of its pot and remove the potting material so we can see what's going on. This plant has not been watered for a week, so it's now dry enough to depot and handle more cleanly. Now with the pot and compost removed, we can get a good look at the growths and can see where we can divide the clump. There are plenty of healthy, actively growing roots. The roots are quite fleshy and not as fine or fibrous as other plant varieties. We can rotate the clump and see if there are any portions that will naturally break away without the need for cutting. Gently pull the growths apart. This is rather tricky with just one hand, so I recommend you use both hands and do it properly. On larger plants that cannot be pulled apart, you can cut the rhizome into short lengths with a knife. Each piece of rhizome should have at least one growth with some roots. So I have got 4 good, healthy divisions from the clump. There are fresh leaves and new growths on each of these divisions. On the largest division, the old rhizome from which the clump grew can be seen. This has dried off now and is no longer growing, so it can be removed and discarded. Now we just need to get these potted up. Here are the 4 new plants freshly potted. These divisions have nice new growths and they are going to establish quickly. This compost has not yet been watered, so it's still quite loose. It will firm up when it gets wet. If, after watering, the plants are not stable in their pots, tie them to some small bamboo sticks for support until the new roots establish. This is important on plants grown outdoors for the summer and may still be needed for a couple of months on plants grown indoors also. So these plants can now be given a good watering and they can be positioned in a sheltered spot outdoors for the summer or placed indoors in good light for growing on.